Hello, everybody. Renee here, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. And I did do a live today on my Facebook page. And there is a link below under the More if you want to check out that Facebook page. But what happened is that live didn't quite work correctly. So I decided to go ahead and redo this card that I want to show you that I think is a great card. All right. So this card right here is the one. I call it a pop-up, center pop-up diamond card. All right. And this is how it looks when it stands up. Okay. And you can open it up like this right here. And this one, I decided to make an Easter one, is the first one that I made. All right. So then the one that we're going to make more like this, unless I decide to turn it into a rabbit again, is this one right here. This is the one I made today during my live on my Facebook page. And I want to go ahead and show you how to create this card. And here is how it opens up. Of course, you'll want to put a piece of white cardstock in here. And it depends. I made this 1 inch, okay, by 5 1/4. And so you can make it thinner. And so then this space would be wider. But the way I have it right now, it's about 3 1/8 wide by 5 1/2 long. So you can put a cardstock that is 2 7/8, which would be a 1/4 inch difference, 2 7/8, and then 5 1/4. And that piece of white cardstock would fit very nicely in there. All right. And this is the 1 inch and just pushed in a little bit. All right, so that you have that same line and all the lines meet up here at the top and at the bottom. All right, and then we have a little pop-up St. Patrick's. And so let's look at how this is made. You can see the materials I used were the Eden's Garden, all right, and the Lucky Clover. Okay, so these are the 2 stamp sets that are used. I am using the old paper, the old designer paper from Eden's Garden Suite that once was, and some mixed in there, but this is kind of only these pieces are left pretty much. And this was called Ever Eden. All right, this was the Ever Eden Designer Series paper that I am using. All right, so let's look at our dimensions and the pieces you need, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move to just the one screen. So remove spotlight. And so we just have this going on. And so let's go ahead and look at this. So what you need is a standard card base. Okay, this is a standard card base at 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. All right, then you need a piece of cardstock that is 1 inch by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need, for me, it's exactly the same size of designer paper that represents your stop. Okay, so this is what's going to go here. And you can decide differently, but this works really well for me and lines up with my designer paper. All right, so that's what I use there. Then you will need a piece of acetate. And your piece of acetate, if I still have that piece of acetate, I will cut another one if I don't. That's okay. I keep it close by because I keep losing it since it's see-through and you know how it goes. But the piece of acetate is going to be that you need is going to be a 1/2 inch by 4 inches. All right. And you definitely need that acetate, and we will be finding that momentarily. Let's hope so. So we'll see how that went. That acetate does disappear, and that's pretty common because of the fact that it is clear. I thought I might have put it in here. Yes, here it is. There it is. Very good. That's that piece of acetate right here. And I'm going to just put that back where I wanted it so that I can find it later. Okay, so then designer series paper. Now, if you look at my card, and the other one is exactly the same, I just use the one piece of DSP, and you can add another piece, and I'll give you, if you want to frame it down, or if you want this to be a bigger one and a smaller one, you can, but this was my smaller one, and then if you wanted to make one underneath to frame this one, that would be the other dimension. So let's look at that real quick. So you need 2 pieces of DSP that are 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. And that again will make your fronts right here. All right. Then if you want to have that framed, all right, then you'd go with 2 inches by 5 3/8. You do need to know the center points of both of these. That is crucial. All right. And that would be for the 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, it is 2 5/8. By the 2 by 5 3/8, it is 2 11/16. So you have to count each little line to get to 11/16 here. So any ruler that you have, those are the smaller markings, are the 16ths, as you know, and you would have to count over 11 of those smaller ones, all right, to get to that midpoint of that larger piece that would go underneath the frame that I have here, that would go right underneath. All right. So now what you would do, let's see, is that all we need? That's all the paper we need. And you see here the diagram for those 2 1 7/8 by 5 1/4 that I'll be explaining. All right, so how does this work? So this works in that what you're going to do is once you have your cardstock, and you go ahead and you might as well crease it right away. Okay, fold that 2 1/8 score down and in. All right. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your tool, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to go to the center point, and you're going to go to 3/4 inches down. And what I do, the way I do that is I kind of make sure that's in the center, and I actually hold it up this way towards myself, and then I look exactly at where 3/4 inch is, and then I go to that space. That's why I love this tool, and I just mark 3 1/4. Okay, 3/4 inch down. All right, and so I can do that right away for the bottom as well. All I have to do is make sure that my line is centered here, where my score line is that it's centered. And then I'm going to go up. So from 5 1/2, 5 1/4 is 1, 5 is 2, 4 3/4 would be 3. So you would go to 4 3/4 and make your marking. So 4 3/4 would be that 3/4. All right. So that's how I do that one. This one, I would find my center point. Okay, we know my center point to be on this side 2 3/4 for this right here. And you see I have it folded in, and I would take it to 2 3/4. all right, which would be right here, 2 3/4. And then again, I want to mark 3/4 in. Since this is a quarter, okay, 4 would be 1/4, then a half would be 3 3/4, so 3 1/2, and I would simply take my pencil and mark it in here. All right, and of course, all I have to do is go down here 3/4 and mark it right here with my pencil, and that's all I do. Once I've done that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use my scoring tool, and I'm simply going to go ahead now and score this. I make sure that I look that my pencil mark point is right in that track, and I try to see if I can't get it there. I then close it, okay, and then I move this around until I see both of my pencil points in there. Then I take my scoring tool. I'm going to move this because I want to score it, which is the light gray always. I take my scoring tool and I lightly go over. This is not going through the paper at all, okay? And I look that those points, all right, meet up right here. That my one point that I made, that I drew, is down here. And then when I go across, it's right there at the end. I also look at the measurement of where that point is. And I try to make that first point, I try to go as high as I can. And I try to make that first point at a number I can see, like 3 1/2. So I can start then right here, there's the marking, and I can start scoring at 3 1/2. And let's say it ends right here. I can see that it ends right there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark, identify what that is, like 5 7/8, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take my scoring tool and go to that using this and this to help me. All right. And I do that for each side. I just keep turning it around and doing the same thing. Okay. Each time, making sure my dots are fairly close to the trench here, and then close it and make sure I believe that my 2 points are in the scoring area, and then I test it with the score, make sure I can read the numbers that are up here, and I use white tape to help me read those numbers. I just took some white tape and put it over there so it's easier to read my numbers, and there you go, and I've scored. Once I've scored, all I have to do now is cut this right in here between those 2 points. And again, what I'm going to do is I have my points. I'm going to put through my scoring. I'm going to put it as close to the groove as I think it should be. And then I'm going to go ahead and test that it works here, that this lines up with those 2 dots as I go through. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to read again, what is the value where that starts? What's that number up there? And what's that number up there? And then I'm going to score between those 2 points. All right. And that's how I do that. So that's that. Now, when you're doing these, the one thing you have to be very careful of, so you can see this, what you have to be very careful of is that you're going to take your thumb and you're going to take this and push down. And then you're just going to do one at a time. And then you're going to slowly crease this down, crease that down, and then fold one of them down. Make sure you're getting to the center of that point. Go slowly. Thicker the paper, the harder it is. And make sure, okay? Then go to the second one. You take your thumb, press down like that, and then slowly make the crease and make sure that it's centered right here, that your point is where it's supposed to be. And then you can take both of them and turn them in like that, like that, like that, and like that. And there you go. There is your diamond. Also a little mouth there too. little duck mouth. Okay, so that's great. All right. So now I had told you that you needed to have two pieces that are 1 7/8 by 5 1/4. Okay. And what you're going to do now, you can use your machine just the same way. All right. They'll be marked on the left side on the long side and one on the right side of the long side. And you're going to go down here exactly a 1/2 inch. And you can use either a ruler or your machine again. I do tend to use the machine because I find it to be more accurate. All right. You're going to take a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch. All right. And again, so down and up. That's all. This is, again, 5 1/4 long, remember? So 1/2 inch is here. All right. And this is down 1/2 inch. I think that's 1/2 inch. That looks a little, doesn't that look a little low? I think that looked a little low. So let's see. If that is 5 1/4 long, which it's supposed to be, that's perfect. That looked a little low. It did. So that line was a little off. With this, it's not good to be off. And so you get to see this. So you're going to go ahead and then draw your lines to the 2 points. Draw your line to the 2 points. And now you can simply cut this. Okay. So now I'm going to cut from that higher point to that point to that point. And now I'm going to do that twice, right? Because they represent each side, correct? Okay. So now what is this? What is this? Well, this now gets cut in half. And when you cut this in half, what you're going to get, and you'll get 2 of them, correct? Because you cut 2. You're going to simply cut this in half. I'm going to just take this, and you're going to put that center point right in the middle. And then you're simply going to cut it in half. And then this represents the insides. Now, typically, these insides on me are a little big. And so what happens here, so what happens here is I have to trim it up, okay? So basically what I do is I cut, for me, it's about this thick of a piece that I'm going to cut to make it fit. And so it's almost a 1/4 inch that I want to cut this off. And this needs just a little bit. They're pretty easy. Just trim it down just so that it works nicely for you and that it fits in there. That's all you care about, is that it fits in there like that. And it does. And there you go. If it's still a little too long, just take a little bit more off. Just trim until you are satisfied. Now, this is almost, I probably took off almost a 1/4 inch from that. All right. And you do have to play around. You'll see how it works. But that was almost a 1/4 inch that I could take off the bottom so that it fits nicely in here. And that's all you would have to do. Okay. And you do that, of course, to each of those pieces. Okay. And since you had 2 sides, you are going to have 4 of these at the end to go right into here. Okay. And once you have one, to be honest, once you have one, you can simply line it up with the others and then just trim off, and it works really well. So that really does look like 1/4 of an inch. And you'll see because of the way this is set up, it works that way. So there you go. You see that fits now, and that'll fit now like that. I think that was whichever one that was. That one was that way. So they'll fit in, and you can literally fit them into any. So you see how that works? So that's all you need to do. All right. So those are they. Now, since we have that done, let's see where we are. I did do this. I am going to glue, these are the 2 pieces for the stop. I am going to glue this on. Just like this. Now it's going to fit exactly on there because I don't make any difference because I only use 1 layer. So, and I do need this because it has to be a stop, so it has to be sturdy. So designer paper is not enough. Now, if you wanted to use a couple more sheets, that would be fine. Okay, so you do see here, by the way, all the measurements and how that, what is cut and what isn't, and those measurements. If you wanted to take a picture of that, please feel free to do so. They the cardstock is 1 inch by 5 1/4, and so is the DSP. The acetate, as we said before, which we'll show you how we use, is a 1/2 inch by 4. The cardstock label is of your choice. And then this DSP, again, if you wanted to frame this piece, then you do the 2 by 5 3/8. You would do the extra pieces. And you treat the centerpiece exactly the same. So here is that right here. And then that represents one of those, that represents that diamond right there. And you would simply cut that in half and then trim. Yes, and trim from the bottom. Yes, okay. All right, so those are those pieces. Now let's go ahead. I did do my stop. I could literally put my stop in if I wanted to right now, but I will wait till the end. But basically that's where it'll go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, for the sake of time efficiency, I have made those 2 pieces ready to go and ready to be set up. So all I have to do is glue those down. So as I said before, on my Facebook page, I did this earlier as a live, but was definitely not happy with it, and therefore am giving people the opportunity to see this on YouTube. The one thing about this paper that you're using, which should be mentioned, is you want to use paper that is directionless. It will be harder if you use paper with direction, because literally, because of what I have done, I can literally go ahead and use either piece. For either of these pieces could have gone onto the other piece. It could have gone backwards on. So it's beautiful. It's just symmetrical. So it's kind of fun that way. All right. I did pre-cut my little pieces also. And I trimmed them, as I had mentioned, to trim them so that they will fit fairly easily. And I made a bunch so that if one isn't trimmed, then I will have to trim it. So I think that one would go, and that's the other thing, where they go. So this one was one of the quarters. Goes right here. And all I'm going to do is just, this part is actually fairly forgiving because you don't see too much of it really. but you see enough of it that let's see how that works. That works there. Looks like a kite. So this designer paper is gorgeous. And it's on its last leg with me finally. And as you know, the Celebration dies. This one was a little bit long, but it won't matter. So the Celebration Eden's Garden stamp set and Eden's dies is for $100 purchase. And really, at first, I was concerned that the dies would be too much, but as I have been working with them, I have found out that they really aren't too much. They're just great and work really well. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So that piece, and don't worry too much about that lining up in the center too much. I make sure these tips are good, and I make sure the tips are good. That's a little off, and I could probably use another piece because I do have another piece that I could use, but you really won't see it once it's, so it really is very forgiving, and there's going to be something over here, so it really does not matter. If it does to you, I have other pieces here that I would lay over it and could cut and make it better. There would be another piece. Is it that piece? It is that piece. And literally, could take another piece and lay it right over to make it look a little better. And that would make it look a little better if I wanted to. All right, but like that and like that. But that's fine, you don't even see it. Okay, so next, let's see what I used. So when you look at Eden's Garden and you look at the dies, all right, this is beautiful. Now we're going to finally decorate. Isn't that lovely? So you see this die and this die and this die I used for this. All right, and this little guy I used for this, and I'll show you how I was going to use them, and so that you see. And I did use the Sending Hugs stamp set, and I used this right here to go ahead and make my, sorry about that, need to push that back, to make my shamrock. And simply what I did is I took my stamp and I took a piece of white cardstock, like right here, this is it, and I simply began stamping around. All right, and I went towards the end of each piece, but I wasn't exact, and I just start stamping around. Once I did that, I was able to take my punch, and then I was able to go ahead and punch out my 4-leaf clover, my shamrock. Okay, so that's how I got this piece. Now, let's say you don't have this punch because it's not available anymore. All right, so what do I do? Well, you simply go ahead, use the stamp set, stamp it, and cut it out. These shamrocks are very easy to cut out. I made another card with the shamrock, and there is no die cut or anything for these little ones that are in the stamp set. And so I simply stamped and cut them out, and they're great. So these were very easy. This will be great and easy too to cut out if you don't have the punch. So the stamp set is definitely worth it with all the St. Patty's days and all that kind of stuff on there. It's a great, great, great set. So I definitely think it is worthwhile. All right. So now what I did with those dies is I took the designer paper and I went ahead and cut the label out. And the label is going to be my my pop-up part. Okay. Now, again, I said to you that you have to have the acetate. If you don't want to put anything over, you want it to be free and empty looking, you actually take the acetate and put it down first. And all you do is you're going to put some tear and tape at the edges right here and right here, lay it down, and then place your designer paper over it. And then what happens is basically it's invisible and then it pops up when you open it. So it's definitely cool looking that way. But I definitely very, very attractive, very nice. But I do like this. I do like to put this on. So what's going to happen here, we are going to use some tear and tape. And I am going to put my acetate on now. This was a little bit, you can trim it down further. It doesn't really matter. This one doesn't have to be this long. I'm going to trim it down a little bit more because I don't need it that long, really. I just needed to make it over. I just need to make it over this. That's for sure. So again, just trimming to where I like it, not worried about the measurement exactly, but 3 3/4, 4, just depends. If yours is underneath, I would go to 4. So a little shorter if it is above. So I made mine, just so that you know, I made mine about 3.5 inches long. And I'm going to use my tear and tape, making sure I put the tear and tape on the same side. I'm going to cut myself. Oh, I can do it this way, like that. And then I'm going to tear that off. And then I put one at the other end. Just going to do that and tear that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. I go a little bit beyond on each side so that I can cut it straight off. It just makes it easier for me. Some people measure, and I just do it this way, just like that. Then what you want to make sure of, remember that when you do this, you want that tear and tape to be stuck on that surface. Then you can lift it just like that. Then you can lift it just like that. Just a second here. Yes, there it is, just like that and like that. So you need that tear and tape there. Then what I'm going to do is pretty much just center that down there. Center that down there, just like that, so that now that pops up. See that? That pops up. You can see that a little bit. Yeah, see? So I put that right through the center. And now I'm going to put tear and tape because I don't put glue on that. And I definitely am not going to use dimensionals. So basically, I'm just going to take my tear and tape and put it right across here to here. That looks good enough. Sometimes those edges are hard to get. Yeah, there you go. That's good. So there it is. And so then I'm just going to go ahead and put that right across. So right across there, right through the center, basically right there and there you go. And so you definitely see, I do like this way, but the invisible is gorgeous. But I do like it this way. So it's very fun for me. All right. So now the options are, which was gorgeous, just to go ahead and put that one in there. Isn't that fun? I think it looks just dandy. The other one also looks great, just like that. I love that as well. All right. And but I do want to show you one other thing that I used, just so that you can see, is I took the one edger and I cut two of them, as you can see here. See there, there's two. All right. And I think I'm going to put this light up. Maybe that'll help. Oh. This light is kind of funky. There it is. All right. So there's two here, two pieces, a lighter colored and a darker colored. Can you see that? And what I was going to do is I was going to put that over there like this, which is also very sweet. And then I was going to put my little bunny rabbit here. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you really don't cover up the diamond too much, because then you lose the effect. So you don't want to really crowd it very much at all. All right, so this is about all you would definitely want. And then using that same Eden's Garden, sending hugs would just be adorable down here. All right, so that is definitely a great little card. It does have a little dark color in there for the grass and does work. But I could also, of course, simply put the rabbit right here like this and go ahead and do that. And it looks like it almost disappears. But I will do another one of these. And I do think that the one I'm going to use is this one. I think it looks great. All right. And so it goes on. So all I do is put a little glue here. And put my shamrock in the middle. Again, you really don't want too much stuff around, because then you'll lose the effect of the diamond and what it does. So you definitely don't want to do that. All right. So there's that. Now the last piece, or last pieces, is to go ahead and put your dimensionals down. And I do like to put, this is when I use my strips, when I like to use my strips right here at the edge. A lot of times there's strips left over right here. If you can see that, there's a strip right there. Perfect. So the side that I want, okay, is this side right here, right? And so this is where this is going to go, is right here, right towards the edge. I think, but that still has some paper there. Yeah, there it is. So put that at the edge. And then I'm going to get some more edge a little bit. Don't think I need too much. And I'm just going to put that right there. And so then what I'm going to do here is simply lay it across. I'm going to try and center that pretty much. No, I can't do it that way. It's got to do that way. I can see here that it moved a little bit, my piece. That's sometimes the problem with glue. It moved a little bit, so I'm just moved a little bit this place too. So what I'm going to do, you could tell because of the white, I'm just going to cut that off, because that won't matter. And then I can go ahead and line that up. I should check, though, where that's my mistake is. I want to kind of check and line it up here and here. That looks better. Did I do it right? Yes, I did do it right. See, then that's lined up. There you go. That's better. That's better. See, like that. So you do want to line it up so it's all lined up all the way across. That's kind of what you do want. All right, so now the label, I can still put in sending hugs. That would still work very nicely there. Sometimes people have something right here still. They'll put something right there. Added, or add right here. But I'm not going to do that, or you could add it right up here as long as it's attached right here. You can do it there. You can, of course, do it up here. That looks good too, right there. So there are different places that you can place that. I have a different kind of thing that I do that I really like that is working for me. I like the pop-up. And so using that clover stamp set on either side, right there, on either side of my line. Do you see that? See that? All I need to do is center the St. Patty's, put that on there. I want to put it far enough down, don't want to put it too much in the way so that it works. You don't want to put it, see? And then that works like that. So that pops up as well. Isn't that cute? Isn't that cute? I think that's great. I think I would like it, you know, you want to make sure it's below. You want to make sure, let me see here. You want to make sure that it is just below. Let me just get that. Can I get that? I can. I want to make sure it's below the, there it is. That's where I want it. There you go. There, that'll do the trick. And there you go. And you just want to make sure that does that. And then it just kind of stands up there, which is great. I think that's really cute. And then there you go. And then, of course, you'd have your piece of white cardstock right in here. And again, depending on how far you go in or whatever, again, that's 3 1/8. So 3 inches by 5. And since it's only an 1/8, then 5 3/8, right? So that's my piece of white cardstock. And there is my fun card. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and go ahead and look under more if you're interested in seeing my other videos. And I hope you enjoyed this. And thank you very much. I will talk to you soon. Like, please, subscribe, ring that bell. Go ahead, and I do try to come on every week. So I have some kind of surprise for you, either a card, information. I don't do too many unboxings, but I am supposed to get a box soon, so maybe I'll do that, but we'll see. I enjoy more making the cards than the unboxing and show you how that material works. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed your card making evening. All right, bye-bye now.